You got your labs back. Everything in range. Cholesterol, blood pressure, thyroid, blood sugar. Your doctor looked at the results, looked at you, and said, "See you next year." You walked out of that office, but something still felt off. I want to tell you that that feeling is not anxiety. That feeling is not you being difficult. That feeling is data. And your annual physical is not designed to read it. Here's what your annual physical actually measures: the absence of diagnosable disease. That's it. If your number falls inside a reference range, you are classified as healthy. But reference ranges are built on population averages. And the average person in this country is not necessarily all that healthy. So when your results come back normal, what that means is you resemble the average. It does not mean your cells are actually functioning well. It also does not mean you're aging at the right rate. It doesn't mean that everything's fine. It simply means that we haven't found a disease yet. There are two different numbers that describe your age. The first one is on your birth certificate. That is your chronological age, the number of years that you've been alive. It moves at exactly the same rate for every person on the planet. Earth going around the sun. The second number is different. Your biological age is how old your cells actually are. And that number does not move at the same rate for everyone. Two people can be 48 years old by the calendar. One of them has the cellular biology of someone, say, 41. The other has the cellular biology of 59. Same age, completely different internal reality. Your annual physical does not tell you which one you are. So let's talk about how researchers actually measure this. Starting about a decade and a half ago, scientists began developing something called an epigenetic clock. Epigenetics is the layer of biology that sits on top of your DNA. Your DNA is the blueprint. It doesn't really change that much across the lifetime. But epigenetics is the instructional layer, the set of signals that tells your genes what to do, when to do it, and how loudly to express it. One of the most measurable signals in that layer is called DNA methylation. These are chemical markers, markers that attach to specific sites across your genome. And they accumulate over time in patterns that directly reflect how your cells have been living. Stress leaves a pattern. Poor sleep leaves a pattern. Chronic inflammation leaves a pattern. Exercise leaves a pattern. A nutrient-dense diet leaves a pattern. You see where I'm going with this? Every experience your body has had, every state of your nervous system, every meal, every night of sleep, every chronic stressor, they all leave a mark. Your biology keeps the record. And epigenetic clocks read that record. They analyze thousands of methylation sites across your genome, cross-reference them against the population data, and produce a number, your biological age. The first generation of these clocks was developed by a researcher named Stephen Horvath. He was at UCLA. And he could estimate biological age with a precision at the time that stunned the scientific community. By the second generation, we went way further. Two clocks in particular, Grimm age and Dunedin pace, not just estimate your age, they measure the pace of your aging. Not where you are, how fast you are moving. There was a paper that was published this year in Biomedicine that reviewed the clinical data across multiple large cohort studies. What it found is this: Dunedin pace predicts your risk of metabolic disease, cognitive decline, and all-cause mortality better than cholesterol, better than fasting glucose, better than blood pressure, and better than any single marker your doctor currently orders. That is not a small claim. That is a fundamental reframing of what health measurement should look like. Now, let's talk about what accelerates biological aging. The research is very consistent across studies. Chronic physiological stress, not acute stress, which your body knows how to handle pretty well, chronic activation. Cortisol that stays elevated for days and weeks and months because the pressure never fully lifts. Poor sleep is another one, specifically poor sleep architecture. So not duration, the quality and sequencing of your sleep stages. If you're getting 7 hours but not cycling properly into deep, slow wave sleep, your cells are not repairing at the rate that they really need to be. And then there's elevated glucose. Post-meal blood sugar spikes above 140 milligrams per deciliter can trigger oxidative stress directly in the cell. And that oxidative stress accelerates the methylation patterns that drive biological aging. This happens even in people who are not diabetic, by the way. So even people whose fasting glucose comes back normal, we still see the same result. Inflammatory diets are another, not any single food. The cumulative inflammatory load of what your body is processing day after day. So these are not lifestyle opinions. These are measurable biological events, and they're leaving a chemical record in your DNA right now. Here's the part that matters the most. And I want to do my best to be precise here, because this is where most of the conversation around longevity goes wrong. Methylation patterns are dynamic. They change in response to how you live. There's a clinical trial that was published in the Journal of Aging and used a protocol designed to regenerate the thymus. This is the gland responsible for training the immune system. After just 1 year of intervention, participants showed a mean biological age approximately 1.5 years younger than their baseline. Now, 1.5 years sounds pretty modest, but it's not. At a cellular level, 1.5 years of reversal means reduced systemic inflammation, improved immune competence, measurably lower predicted mortality risk. These are not like wellness metrics. These are clinical outcomes. And the mechanism that produces them is not exotic. It's the same mechanism that produces accelerated aging when you go the other direction. So your biology responds to inputs. Give it different inputs, and you get different outputs. So what does an evidence-based protocol actually look like? Well, it's not a supplement stack. It's not a biohacking gadget. A clinical starting point built around the 4 interventions with the strongest evidence for slowing and reversing biological age. Well, here they are. The first is sleep architecture, not duration architecture. During deep, slow wave sleep, your body clears cortisol, releases growth hormone, and initiates cellular repair. So if you're getting 7 or 8 hours, but your sleep tracker shows minimal time in deep sleep, or if you wake up feeling unrefreshed no matter how long you've slept, the repair is not happening. So the goal here is not more sleep. The goal is better sleep architecture. We need to hit those phases. And in particular, more slow wave sleep, consistent sleep timing aligned with your circadian rhythm, and morning light exposure within the first 30 minutes of waking. That anchors your melatonin cycle. The second intervention is blood glucose stability. Not elimination of carbohydrates, stability. I recommend 30 days of continuous glucose monitoring to every client before we make a single dietary change. I also include lab work in that. Because what the data almost always shows is that the foods driving the biggest glucose spikes are not what people expect. It's not just sugar. It is actually certain combinations of foods, certain timing, stress eating, eating late at night. Once you can see the pattern, you can address it specifically. That is clinical precision, not guesswork. And the third intervention is measurable nervous system recovery. Not meditation as like some vague concept. HRV, heart rate variability. HRV is the variation in the time between our heartbeats. A high HRV means your nervous system is recovering well. A low one means it's under load, right? It means it's chronically activated, not adequately restoring itself between cycles. So when I see low or declining HRV in a client, it tells me the stress response is staying on longer than it should, that cortisol is not clearing properly. The biological clock is running faster. The interventions that raise HRV are specific. It's like breath work, cold exposure, particular movement protocols, sleep optimization, and as HRV improves, biological age markers follow. The fourth one is targeted nutritional support for the methylation cycle itself. Your methylation cycle is the biochemical process that governs epigenetic marking. It has specific nutritional cofactors, B12, folate, choline. Without adequate levels of these, the methylation cycle runs poorly. Biological aging, again, accelerates. Beyond cofactors is omega-3s, which have evidence for slowing epigenetic aging. Polyphenols have been found that are found in deeply colored plants, also show measurable effects on methylation patterns in quite a few clinical studies. This is not a general eat healthy recommendation. I want to be clear. This is a targeted nutritional protocol built around the methylation science actually supports. Your biological age is the most accurate read on your health trajectory that currently exists. It is not your annual physical, and it's not measured by your annual physical. It is not what your cholesterol tells you. It is what your cells are actually doing right now. And the research is clear. It's changeable. When your labs call normal, or what your labs call normal, doesn't necessarily mean that your biology is thriving. It means they didn't find a disease yet. You deserve more information than that. If you want to understand where your biological age is and build a clinical protocol addressing it, well, the link to book a consultation is in my bio. You can go to lifescienceperformance.com, reach out anytime with questions, and feel free to comment on this video. So I want to say this is not about living forever. It's about the next 10 years looking like the last 10 or better. Take care. Please like and subscribe this video. It really helps me out and keeps me producing this content for you guys. Take care. Stay blessed.